This video is about the combination of Saturn with Neptune in the sky, the regularity of its cycles and its emergence in human affairs as the development of socialism, communism and a more global community-orientated system of governance. When Neptune was discovered in September 1846, it occupied the same degree as Saturn. They were both at 25 degrees of Aquarius. And when Saturn, bringing structure and form, was in the same place as Neptune, the mystery, and that was discovered at this time, this is the onset of oil processing, thus the Industrial Revolution. It was where structure was coming into things like hypnotism and mesmerism. It was where the first cameras and the first movies were really being developed at a mass productive level. It was a time of organised brewing for the first time. This is the combination of Saturn's structure and order with Neptune's more visionary, illusory and sometimes nebulous states. And then over the next cycle of Saturn conjunct, square, opposite, square and conjunct Neptune again, there was a kind of embedding. When Saturn was conjunct Neptune, in the first time it was discovered in 1846, it was the time of the writing of a communist manifesto, Marx and Engels. It was the start of hardcore communism as we know it today. A year on, one cycle on, November 1917, Saturn conjunct Neptune. The storming of the Winter Palace, Lenin takes over from Assar, the onset of Russian socialism as it developed. 9 years later, in 1925, when Saturn is square Neptune, Stalinism begins, and it's the Chiang Kai-shek becomes commander of Chinese Academy, and it's the start of communism in China. In 1935-36, when we've got the opposition of Saturn and Neptune, it's Stalin's purges, and of course it's the Long March in China, where people like Mao Zedong and Zhou Enlai are leading the communist people in a kind of revolution of consciousness. At the next square in 1944-45, you're seeing socialism triumph over fascism, with the Soviet triumphs over Nazism. And China becomes much more solid under Mao Zedong. And of course, 1953, when Saturn's conjunct Neptune again, we've got the beginning of the development of Chinese and Russian communism into the world, but we've also got the death of Stalin, and we've got the building of the Berlin Wall on a Saturn-Neptune conjunction. At the next square in 1963, it's the Cuban Missile Crisis. And at the opposition of Saturn and Neptune, we're talking about the Cultural Revolution in China. This is 1972. Next square, the waning square, in 1979-80, we see the Russian invasion in Afghanistan and the beginning of the Polish crisis. And in 1989, the next Saturn conjunction, the Berlin Wall comes down. It went up on a conjunction, it comes down on a conjunction. And in China, it's Tiananmen Square, and it's the beginning of the end of the old USSR. In the next square, in 1988-99, Yeltsin resigns and appoints Putin, still ongoing. And in 2005-2006, we're starting to see a lot of political, economic and agricultural reforms in China, and the reforms of Putin and Medvedev. And the next Saturn-Neptune square comes in 2015, and I suspect this will bring a degree of major restructuring in the economic and sociological affairs of both communist China and socialist Russia. And then we come to the big one, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the 0 degrees of Aries, 29 Pisces, 0 degrees of Aries, the very start of the zodiac, over the period of 2025 and through to February 2026. And over this time we have Saturn conjunct Neptune at the very end of Pisces, very start of Aries, Uranus sextiling it at the very start of Aquarius, and Uranus sextiling it at the very beginning of Gemini. So Saturn, Uranus, Neptune and Pluto are all dancing very, very well with each other over 2025 and 2026. And with Saturn conjunct Neptune at the very beginning of Aries, I suspect we're going to see the start of a world government there, based not so much on communism or socialism, but based on a system without borders, with global governance, global taxation, global economics, and much less nation states from 2026 onwards. There you go, folks. Brief lesson on Saturn-Neptune. Catch you later.